Welcome back to Mighty Habits, everyone. I'm Stephen,
And I'm Mary.
and we're so glad to have you with us today as we take a deep dive into a concept that's been transforming lives for years.
The power of now.
That's right.
Have you ever noticed how much time we spend dwelling on the past or worrying about the future?
Oh, yeah, constantly.
It's like our minds are on a never-ending, time-traveling adventure, rarely stopping to appreciate the present moment.
It's so true. And you know what? There's actually a best-selling book dedicated to this very concept.
Oh, I think I know the one you're talking about, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
That's the one. And in this deep dive, we're going to explore some of the key insights from Tolle's work and discover how we can harness the power of now to live more fulfilling lives.
It's a book that's resonated with millions of people worldwide, and for good reason.
So let's jump right in. One of the core concepts in The Power of Now is this idea of the ego, which Tolle describes as a separate entity within us that thrives on negativity.
It's like a little voice in our heads that's constantly whispering doubts and fears, keeping us trapped in cycles of worry and anxiety.
So it's not just that we're forgetful or easily distracted. There's actually a force working against us, almost like a mischievous gremlin on our shoulders.
Exactly. And Tolle suggests that this ego keeps us from experiencing true peace and happiness by clinging to the past and fretting about the future.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
I know I've certainly fallen into those thought traps before. It's like my mind is a time traveler,
Uh-uh.
constantly jumping between what was and what if.
We all experience this to some degree, but the good news is that Tolle offers a way out.
Oh, tell me more. What's the secret to escaping this mental chatter?
It all comes down to shifting our awareness to the present moment. It's not about ignoring the past or future, but rather not letting them control our emotional state.
So it's like acknowledging those thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them, kind of like a surfer riding a wave.
That's a great analogy. And the power of now offers a variety of practical techniques for achieving this state of present moment awareness.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Well, one of the foundational practices is focusing on the breath. Tolle suggests simple techniques like conscious breathing, where you pay close attention to the sensation of each inhale and exhale.
That sounds a lot like meditation.
It is
Yeah.
very similar. And the breath can act as an anchor to gently guide your attention back to the present moment whenever you find your mind wandering.
I've tried that before, and it does seem to have a calming effect.
Exactly. And it's not just about formal meditation. Tolle encourages us to bring mindfulness into everyday activities. It's about shifting your awareness to whatever you're doing at that moment.
So whether I'm washing dishes, having a conversation, or even just taking a walk,
Ah,
I can practice being present in those moments.
precisely. It's about bringing a sense of awareness and intention to even the most mundane tasks.
This all sounds really intriguing, but I have to admit, I'm also a bit curious about this concept of the pain body that Tolle talks about. Can you shed some light on that for us?
Sure. Tolle describes the pain body as a sort of energy field within us that holds on to past hurts and traumas.
So it's like we're carrying around baggage from our past that we might not even be fully aware of.
That's a good way to put it, and Tolle suggests that this pain body can actually contribute to negative thinking and emotional suffering.
Wow, that's pretty profound. So if I'm understanding this correctly, by becoming more present, we're not only calming our minds, but also starting to address these deeper emotional patterns that might be holding us back.
You got it. By becoming more aware of the present moment, we can start to observe these patterns without getting swept away by them. It's like shining a light in a dark room and illuminating those shadowy thought habits.
This is starting to sound like a real game changer.
It can be, but it's important to remember that this is a journey, not a destination. There will be times when you fall back into old patterns of thinking, and that's okay. The key is to simply notice it and gently guide your attention back to the present moment.
This is all fascinating stuff. We're diving deep into some pretty profound concepts here.
We are, but don't worry, we'll break it all down into bite-sized pieces and provide practical tips for applying these principles in your daily life.
I think what's really resonating with me is this idea that we have the power to choose how we experience life. We don't have to be victims of our thoughts and emotions. We can learn to become the masters of our own minds.
Exactly. And the power of now offers a roadmap for that journey of self-mastery.
Well said. Now, before we delve deeper into Tolle's techniques for achieving present moment awareness and explore more of these insightful concepts from the power of now.
So before the break, we were talking about the pain body, and you know how it can really weigh us down with all that baggage from the past?
Yeah, it's like this hidden force that's kind of lurking beneath the surface, influencing our thoughts and emotions.
It is, and Tolle suggests that this pain body can manifest in a lot of different ways.
Oh, like how?
Well, through negative self-talk, for example, or maybe addictive behaviors, or even just a general sense of unease or dissatisfaction with life.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Sometimes it feels like there's this underlying current of negativity that I just can't shake.
Exactly, and that's why Tolle emphasizes the importance of bringing awareness to this pain body so we can start to heal those old wounds.
Okay, but how do we actually do that? Is it just about being more mindful?
Mindfulness is definitely a part of it, but Tolle also introduces this concept of surrender.
Surrender. I'm not sure I like the sound of that. It sounds a bit passive, like giving up.
I understand your hesitation, but surrender, as Tolle describes it, isn't about weakness or resignation. It's more about accepting what is rather than resisting it.
Okay, so it's not about ignoring problems or giving up on our goals. It's more about approaching life with a sense of openness and acceptance.
You got it. It's about recognizing that we can't control everything, and that sometimes the best course of action is to simply let go.
So it's kind of like that surfer analogy we talked about earlier, riding the waves instead of trying to fight against the current.
Exactly. And Tolle suggests that through surrender, we can actually tap into a deeper sense of peace and even joy, regardless of our external circumstances.
Okay, that sounds a bit more appealing, but I'm still not quite sure how it works in practice. Do we just sit back and let life happen to us?
Not quite. Remember, surrender is about acceptance, not passivity. It's about choosing to respond to challenges with grace and wisdom, rather than reacting with fear or resistance.
So it's about shifting our internal state rather than trying to control everything external events.
That's it. And one of the key practices Tully suggests for cultivating surrender is connecting to our inner space.
Inner space, what's that?
Well, Tully describes it as the realm of pure awareness. It's the space within us that's untouched by the constant chatter of the mind.
Oh, I see. So it's like finding a place of stillness amidst all the noise.
Exactly. And Tully suggests that by accessing this inner space, we can experience a profound sense of peace and stillness that's always available to us, regardless of what's happening in our external world.
Wow, this is starting to sound like a superpower. Is this something anyone can access?
Toy believes that this inner space is available to everyone. It's our birthright, but we've just forgotten how to access it because we've become so identified with our thoughts and emotions.
So it's like we've lost the key to our own inner sanctuary.
That's a great way to put it. And the power of now offers a map to help us find our way back.
Well, this is a lot to digest. We're diving deep into the concepts of the power of now, exploring the ego, the pain body, and now even this concept of surrender and accessing our inner space.
We are, but it's all incredibly insightful and empowering.
And what's really fascinating to me is that Tolle doesn't just present these ideas in a theoretical way. He actually offers specific practices to help us apply these principles in our daily lives.
Absolutely, and that's what we'll be exploring the next segment.
So stay tuned, listeners, as we continue our deep dive into the power of now and discover how we can tap into the transformative power of presence.
So we've been talking about some pretty deep stuff. The ego, the pain body surrender.
Yeah, a lot to unpack.
But what really strikes me is that Toll doesn't just leave us hanging with these concepts. He actually offers practical ways to experience this power of now stuff in our everyday lives.
Exactly. He gives us tools to actually apply these ideas.
So let's talk about those tools. What are some of the techniques Tolle suggests for actually, bringing this presence into our lives?
One of the simplest and most powerful techniques he talks about is paying attention to our senses.
Our senses. Like just noticing things around us. How does that help? Yeah, it's about really engaging with our surroundings. Noticing the colors, the sounds, the textures, even the smells, anything that draws our attention to the physical world.
I see. So it's like a way of grounding ourselves in the present moment instead of getting lost in our heads.
Exactly. It's like shifting our focus from our thoughts to our actual experience in the here and now.
Okay, so like when you're walking in nature and you start to really see the leaves and hear the birds singing.
Precisely. And you don't have to be in nature to do it. You can practice this anywhere, anytime.
Okay, so while you're eating dinner or taking a shower or just sitting at your desk, you could still bring this kind of awareness to those moments.
Absolutely. It's about bringing mindfulness to even the simplest everyday activities.
Okay, I like that. That seems doable. What other techniques does Toll suggest?
Another really important one is observing our thoughts without judgment.
That sounds tough. I'm always judging my thoughts.
Well, it's about recognizing that thoughts are just thoughts. They're not necessarily facts or even reflections of reality.
Oh, right. Like sometimes my thoughts are totally ridiculous and I know it, but I still believe them.
Exactly. We get so caught up in the stories our minds create that we forget they're just stories. So Tolle encourages us to simply observe those thoughts without engaging with them or trying to suppress them.
So it's like watching clouds drift by. You see them, but you don't try to hold on to them or change them.
Perfect analogy. And as we practice this, we start to create space between ourselves and our thoughts. We realize that we're not our thoughts, we're the awareness that's observing them.
Wow, that's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is, and from that place of observation, we have more freedom to choose how we respond to our thoughts and emotions instead of being controlled by them.
This is also inspiring, but honestly, a part of me feels a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It sounds like it takes a lot of effort to actually put these practices into practice.
Well, it does require some effort and dedication, but the key is to start small and be patient with yourself.
So you don't have to become a Zen master overnight.
Definitely not. Even just a few minutes of conscious breathing or mindful observation each day can make a huge difference.
That's good to hear. So it's about incorporating these practices gradually, just like building any new habit.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more natural and effortless it will become.
Well, listeners, if you're looking for a path to greater peace, clarity, and joy in your life, The Power of Now offers a truly profound and practical guide.
It's a book that invites us to slow down, tune in, and discover the extraordinary power of the present moment.
And it's a journey worth taking, as we've discovered in this deep dive. We encourage you to explore the power of now for yourselves and discover how you can tap into the transformative power of presence in your own lives. And be sure to subscribe to Mighty Habits for more deep dives into fascinating topics that can help you unlock your potential and live a more fulfilling life. Thanks for joining us.